Welcome, everyone. We're so happy you're here. My name is Alex Gartner, and I am the Artistic and Executive Director of the Pensacola Children's Chorus. And I am one of the co-chairs of the Elementary All-State Choir Experience, and I'll let my partner Ruthie introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Ruthie Antman, and I teach at Lost Lake Elementary School in Lake County, which is in Central Florida, sort of suburbish of Orlando. And we're really excited that all of you are here today. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're excited that you are willing and interested to try doing this work with us. So thank you.
Yes, thank you all so much. It's been an interesting process trying to build this program back up since it's shut down, but we are taking this opportunity to make some adjustments as per the suggestion and strong leadership of the executive board, as well as a really incredible task force of many. Actually, some of you who are in the Zoom call that happened in January of 2020 at the FMEA, after the FMEA conference, where we discussed the audition process for the elementary all-state. And we hope that what we present to you today will make a lot of sense. That's our hope and our prayer, because it's been a long time coming, and it's been a lot of work on our end. And for the executive board, we're excited to present this to you. And like Ruthie said, we're just grateful that you're willing to take this journey with us.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. In just a second. All right. Can everybody see that okay? Awesome, great. So we're going to start by just sharing our mission statement with you. We've reworked it a little bit. Our mission and purpose of the FMEA All-State Chorus is to inspire a love for choral singing through the highest quality honor choir experience, to promote social growth, belonging, and community, and to stretch young minds through diversive, inclusive, and thought-provoking repertoire. So after the very interesting year that we've all just completed, we thought that these would be really great goals for all of our students coming back to All-State Chorus. So in our audition, if you've looked at the audition prep packet, you may have seen quite a few changes to the audition. And so here is some of the reasoning behind that. First of all, we've streamlined our rubric a lot. And the reason why is to make the whole judging process easier. We decided that we have these different sections of our audition, and we can assess different elements of the audition with each section instead of assessing every element in every part of the audition. So we'll go through that in more detail in just a minute. We are going to provide a recorded script, so the teacher submitting the audition just has to push play, and then we don't have to worry about script errors or teacher errors. Nobody has to play anything on the piano. Hopefully that part of it will be a whole lot easier for the teacher. We've added some vocal exercises similar to how you would warm up your choir. And the reason for that is to just kind of isolate tone quality and vowel formation in our judging process. So it gives us another place to isolate and assess those things. And so we also switched from the Are You Sleeping round to partner songs, which are This Train and When the Saints, because we just wanted to introduce some more diverse repertoire into our audition process, so something that works for lots of different types of kids. One thing that is the same is that as in the previous audition, the highest point level in the rubric, whether it's a 4 or a 2, should be reserved for truly exemplary performances. So that part of the rubric, a student who gets that score, that part of it should just be absolutely flawless. All right, and now I'm going to hand it over to Alex.
Sure. So like Ruthie said, the first part of our exercise, what we talked about, there's going to be a recorded script. We'll use the words recorded script and guide track interchangeably, because essentially what's going to happen is there will be an audition track that is released, and it will have someone inside that child's ear giving them the instructions to complete all 4 parts of our audition process. That will include all of the piano examples, all of the singing examples. It will all be in their ears the whole time. So as judges, there's going to be quite a bit of silence as you're listening to the recordings, and that's supposed to happen. And it also provides you with some time to reflect on their performance and write some notes and score them. I know one of the feedback pieces from our audition task force is that it would take a really long time to judge these kids. We'd have to constantly be going back. So hopefully, like Ruthie said, the streamlined process where we're focusing more on specific skills with each exercise rather than the combination of everything, all with every part, that this should be a little bit easier to judge. So the first part is some vocal exercises. Like Ruthie said, they're going to feel a lot like vocal warm-ups, where a child is just going to be expected to sing some sort of pattern. It's probably honestly going to be exactly this that you see on the screen, where they will ascend by half steps, and they will be asked to identify, you as judges will be asked to evaluate singers on a couple criteria. If you want to go forward, Ruthie. Yeah, so the 2 areas that these exercises will be evaluating are tone quality and vowels. Vowels meaning vowel placement and formation. So tone quality, we are looking for, and this is consistent with the previous rubric. We're looking for singers. We are incentivizing singers who have a really clear, rich head voice that is really free and doesn't use any sort of pushing or sliding in their performance. And so you can see here each rubric criteria with 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, 1 and 0 have really clear and measurable definitions of what we're looking for. And so we have some vocal examples, some listening examples for just a second. We'll play those in just a minute. But the second criteria, vowel formation and placement, is similar. We're looking for listening for singers who have really tall, rounded, and forward-placed vowels. The opposite of that would be something that is a little bit more nasal or pulled back. And as you look down the rubric scale, you're going to see that those elements get interspersed in there at more severe ranges. So why don't we start with tone quality? And Ruthie, why don't you play for us what the ideal tone quality would be?
I want to jump in real quick and just say that if that sounds familiar, we borrowed these top 4 sound samples from the previous adjudication training because they were so good. So we just used them again.
Exactly. And that's because the kids that are featured on these are just really great. That truly was a 4 points for us. Nice and clear, free of tension. That's sort of the example that we're looking for. So looking at 3 points, we're still looking for healthy tone quality, but there may be some issues with breathiness or thin sounds, or there may be, it should still be in this criteria, free of pushing or sliding between the notes. So you can hear, especially towards the end, that sort of pinchiness and sliding into those notes. Really good quality at the beginning, but we're still looking for that extra step to get to the 4. So moving down to 2, we're looking for the same thing. Head voice is still present, but maybe the chest voice is inappropriately placed, or there's a lack of support or raspiness in the tone. So there's some really good instances in there, but there's also some inconsistent uses in there as well. Moving down, we're looking at chest voice, more pop style, that's used more frequently than a head voice, or the tone is always pushed and strained. So that would be that. And then our 0 is basically the exercise cannot be completed accurately, or the exercise is not completed at all. And with this, we are truly looking for, with this criteria, we're trying to isolate just that aspect of tone quality and nothing else, if that makes sense. We'll have time for questions on this in just a second, but moving on to vowel formation and placement. We do not have child examples for this because this is a sort of a new level here. And so my poor assistant director here, but who is a really big team player, recorded these examples for us using this criteria. This is not a child, but we're hoping it will be an approximation of what we are looking for. So here's our 4 points, consistently utilizes tall, rounded, forward placed vowels.
Oh, sorry.
Just got ahead of, yep, just nice and clear, does the exercise correctly, but has that just nice forward placement and free tone. So moving towards 3, we're erring into the side of nasal or pulled back, but that clarity is still prominently present, but it's just not always there. And if you can imagine, it's really hard to tell a trained singer to imitate bad singing. So this has been, please interpret these written instructions more literally than the oral ones. But moving back towards 2, tall vowels are utilized some of the time, but not consistently, or the placement is consistently pulled back or consistently nasal. And then moving down to 1, the vowels are consistently spread or closed, and the placement is almost always pulled back or nasal. So there we have it. Both of these qualities or these criteria, we're hoping that the criteria that's listed here and the way that it's written will be very clear and easy for our judges to evaluate. And at the same time, our 0 points is really all about basically not completing the exercise anywhere near the ability. The 1 point is for those who are trying. And then again, as Ruthie said at the beginning, the 4 points is for the ones who are just truly exceptional. Are there any questions on vocal exercises? Do our best with these things to see the gallery here. If you can use the hand raise feature when this is happening, that'd be great, but I don't see any at this point, so. Cool.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and move on to tonal melodies. We are still going to have tonal melodies, just like in the previous audition. And we are going to use that part of the audition specifically to assess intonation and pitch matching. And so when judging this part of the audition, that is the only thing you would have to listen for, not tone quality, not vowel formation, just the pitch. Are they matching the pitches? So we'll still have 3. We'll have a major melody, a minor melody, and a chromatic melody, just like before. And they'll be played on the guide track rather than by the teacher. So there won't be any element of possible teacher error that would affect the student. So this is our rubric for the tonal melodies, and we felt like a 2, a 1, and a 0 really covered it well. So for 2 points, everything is completely perfect on each melody. And during the audition, each melody does get its own separate score. I hope that makes sense. 1 point is for if there are 2 or 3 pitch errors, or the pitches are good, but there are some occasional problems with intonation. And then 0 points if there are 4 or more errors in pitch accuracy or just glaring problems with intonation.
And I just want to chime in real quickly,
yeah,
Ruthie, on that. You know, assessing intonation and accuracy, as we were trying to figure out the best way to reformulate this, it's pretty obvious when a kid is in tune or when they are not, or when a kid does have accuracy and when they are not accurate. So by removing the sort of minuteness of it's, okay, well, if they get 1 error, then it's 3 points. If they get 2 errors, it's 2. If they get 3 errors, it's 1. We're just like, we know if they're right and we know if they're not. So we're trying to make it more of an easy, something that's a lot easier to assess in the moment, especially because you're going to have to do this multiple times, if that makes sense.
Right.
Which is why 4 points is not our top. 2 is our top here.
Yeah, 2 is it's perfect. 0 is there's a whole lot wrong with it, and 1 is there are just a few errors. So hopefully that'll be a lot easier as far as the judging process. Alex, would you like to talk about the partner song part?
I do. I'm sorry, my internet is notoriously spotty in this office, which is really difficult. Okay. So like Ruthie alluded to at the beginning, we made the decision to move more towards for this year, a partner song in this audition, where there are 2 melodies put together, obviously. Not that the Are You Sleeping canon was bad, or that canons are bad. What we found in our investigation is that, and in our dialogue with both our audition team and with the executive board, that the repertoire that we use to assess our singers needs to more reflect and accurately reflect the diversity of our state and the diversity of the singers that we serve, of course. So by moving to a partner song that opened us up to a broader variety of repertoire, I am not going to pretend for one instance that This Train is Bound for Glory and When the Saints Go Marching In represent diverse repertoire in the true sense of that. However, this is just our first step in trying to welcome in some new practices into this audition process so that our singers who we're serving might more be able to identify and reflect with their repertoire that they're preparing. And so you're going to see an article in the Florida Music Director, probably, I can't remember, Joni, if it's next month or the following month, that sort of goes in depth around this, the inclusion of the partner song a little bit more. And it will have it includes a call to action, and that we are looking for more diverse repertoire to be incorporated into our audition process. It is not our goal as coordinators for this, this repertoire, specific repertoire, to remain consistent every year. And so we want to include some more music in this. So if you come across some rounds or partner songs that would be really great to include, we would love for those suggestions so that we can put them in future years. Another part of this is that by teaching this music to your students, it can also be potentially incorporated into a performance at your own school. So you're learning repertoire and learning performance pieces. So it's not just we're teaching to an audition, we're actually teaching something that we can perform and have our singers really own. So that's sort of the mentality behind the inclusion of the partner song here. So specifically to the audition, in the recording track, the students will receive an instruction on which part they're going to sing. That you will be expected, as the teachers will be expected, to train the singers on both parts. And then the recording guide track in the ear will instruct which part is to be sung. And then they will perform that part on their own, whilst the recorded guide track will sing the other part. Of course, the exact instructions will be distributed once the formal audition structure or audition track is distributed. I think our timeline, correct me if I'm wrong, Ruthie, we decided it would be 2 weeks before the due date, or maybe 3 weeks before the due date. And that would be, so everybody will obviously be able to formulate that in advance, but in preparation for our singers to learn this exercise, we're having them learn both until that final audition track is released. Because what we're truly trying to assess here is independence. So by not having everybody prepare, know exactly what's going on the whole time, we're actually going to be able to more accurately assess a child's independence with a shorter time frame, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how the partner song will work. Are there any questions on the partner song or the lack of inclusion of the round? Moving you all back in front of me. I keep diverting my eyes to my other monitor.
I don't see any.
Great.
All right.
Oh, and here is our rubric. Like I said, at the same, we're trying really with this to isolate our students' ability to be independent singers. So like for the tonal melodies, we've condensed the scale to just a 2, a 1, or a 0, because you being trained music educators, you all know, we know when a kid is independent and we know when they are not. So let's eliminate the delineation between the two. The max 2 points is about a student maintaining their part with no pitch alterations. 1 point meaning they are maintaining their own part, but there are some pitches or rhythms that were altered due to just a lack, for whatever reason. And then 0 points is the student was not able to maintain their round. And so the difficulty, the one difficulty on the judging side of this is going to be is that you're not going to be able to hear the guide track as it's happening, but it's going to be real obvious which is a 2, which is a 1, or which is a 0, because it should sound like an independent melody. So again, we're through this, we're just trying to simplify it for y'all. So I hope you find that in this new process.
All right, and then the fourth part of the audition is actually the same as before. We're still going to use the piece America, and this is going to be an assessment of the student as a whole musician, but we're just going to use 3 different point levels. So I'm sure that we're all probably familiar with this version of this song is straight from the previous versions of the audition packet. And so this is the rubric that we're going to use to evaluate it. So you'll notice that we do have some different elements being assessed here. But hopefully the fact that it's just a 2, a 1, or a 0 keeps it a lot simpler. So again, 2 is that element was perfect. 0 is it was a mess, and then 1 is there, it wasn't consistent, or there were a couple errors here and there. So hopefully, even though there are multiple elements, it will still be an easier process assessing it. So our elements that we're going to assess here are style, which is kind of a amalgamation of the tone quality and the vowels, and does this piece, does it sound like what we want to hear from a bel canto style of singing? We're going to assess breath control and phrasing, because that's really kind of a big part of the song. Are they holding those notes at the end of phrases to their full value consistently? We're assessing intonation and pitch accuracy, and also rhythmic accuracy as well. Are they keeping a steady beat? Are they holding notes again to their full value? Are they going the right tempo? So that's what changes we have made to this part of the rubric. Are there any questions here?
And I'll add in this section, we do recognize that there is value in assessing a lot of elements at the same time. So we intentionally made part 4 of this more of a summation of a child's overall performance. What we tried to do in parts 1 through 3 is isolate specific skills that an all-state choir values. And this would be an element where we can incorporate the child's whole performance through these categories. it's a lot of change. And I know we're all like very, I don't know, I don't want to say that me personally, I'm averse to change at this point, but I am certainly weary of consistently changing things. And so we're just grateful for you all and your willingness to be judges for this process, as well as your flexibility and patience, because there probably are going to be some questions here in this room and going forward as people sit and digest this just a little bit more. But ultimately, our motivation behind all of this is to make a more fair, equitable, and reputable experience for the singers who are interested in this experience. And then at the same time, especially as we are emerging from this this crazy school year, recognizing the stresses that are being placed on our public school teachers, and trying to be more respectful of their preparation process and honor the work that they have to do in this school year. We've also taken that in consideration with our clinician and the repertoire that's selected as well. This is by no means going to be the biggest, the brightest, the most poster all-state experience this year, because we are all emerging from something really big. And so we're hoping that with this process, and my internet cut out, there it is. Yep, we're hoping that with this process that we can bridge some gaps for people, both our students and our teachers, because ultimately we're stronger when we're working together. And so I hope that you all can see as prospective judges that we tried really hard to take a lot of people's opinions and values into this process. So again, we're just really grateful that y'all are here and willing to help, because it's a big job.
Does anyone have any questions?
Kurt, we see you.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me now? I'm muted.
We got you.
You're good.
Okay.
Kurt.
First of all, thank you. I've been a judge for a long time. You made great changes. Great changes. I appreciate that. Second thing is there anything on this audition that the kids won't be able to practice ahead of time? Are the melodies going to be given out? Are they the ones we saw, or how's that going to work?
That's a good question. So the vocal exercises can be practiced ahead of time. The tonal melodies, we will be putting out a practice audition track. So there'll be two audition tracks that'll be sent out. One will be a practice one that will give them the experience, but the actual audition itself will not be prepared. So the exercises will follow the same sequence, but the tonal melodies will only be able to be experienced for the weeks that is available. What we're trying to do with that is prevent memorization, because memorization is not a demonstration of skills necessarily. So by doing a prepared track in advance where teachers can do whatever they want to help prepare the kids, we're still going to release a new official track that will help, that will go through the same exercises, but they will be slightly different. That makes sense.
For the official track that they're going to do, they would get recorded one time or more, or that's it, one time and they're done?
We would ideally say one time, but again, there's no strong way for us to track that. We're still going to allow them to put their best foot forward. So if they want to do it multiple times, that's what we'll do.
Well, you guys did a great job on changing the audition. It's great.
Oh, thank you. One thing that is still the same is there's no interruption of the recording. So from start to finish, it needs to be one thing, no pausing or stopping in between.
Okay.
So if you happen to hear a definite break, do you just automatically disqualify?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Stacy.
Stacy.
Hi, can you hear me? Because I switched computers. Am I okay?
We can hear you.
Good.
Okay,
we got
good.
you.
All right, so we then are still going to record it on Audacity like we normally do. It's just that we won't be able to hear what they're hearing in their earphones.
So there's a little bit of flexibility now by having the track pre-recorded. You can use whatever recording instrument is most comfortable for you. So we're hoping to overcome some learning barriers in that too, and teachers' level of comfort, as long as the the kid is able to hear the track and there is a recording that is able to happen at the same time, you don't have to use necessarily Audacity. You can use GarageBand, you can use 2 cell phones, you can use whatever tools are at your disposal to make that happen, as long as it's a quality recording. And that will be the responsibility of the submitting teacher to assess.
Nice.
Kurt?
What kind of file does that need to be when we send it?
That's a really good question. I think all the major ones are accepted, right, Ruthie?
I feel like in the past it's been an MP3, but we'll check with the webmaster for FMEA, Josh Beulah. I know that he would know the answer to that, and we can definitely check and get back to you. And we'll make sure that that information is in our packet as well when we release the full instructions on
Okay, thank you.
coming up soon.
Which should be first week of August. We'll be getting those out.
Okay.
Crystal, did you have a question too?
Yes. Do you have, I guess perhaps maybe backward tracking, like when it would be due versus when the official track is going to be released, just so we have an idea of the timeline?
I think the date that we had set to release that official one was September 1st.
For when it's released or when it's due?
When it's released. The auditions are not due until, I know it's after the 15th, because people have to be a member by the 15th. So the auditions have to be submitted.
She freeze, or did I freeze? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Ruthie, you're a little frozen. I think, I believe the auditions are due mid-September. I'm actually trying to pull up that draft of the packet right now. That was in the audition packet when they were due. I apologize that we are not prepared with that sitting up.
But it should end up that
a quick aside.
Go ahead.
No, you keep going.
I was going to say they should have it in their hands for about 3 weeks before the audition is due.
I was going to say an aside, the FEMEA is still budgeted to pay our judges. So I know that was a little bit of a question based on how things are going. And I know that maybe you knew that or not, but regardless, you're still here. So we still are really grateful for that. We're looking at, based on the number of auditions, between about $95 to $110 per judge for that payment for your service. So the auditions, I pulled up the packet now. The auditions are due on September 24th. The official track will be released on September 1st. It's like those folks 3-ish weeks to sit with that.
Does anyone else have a question?
Well, I would just like to make a comment, Ruthie, and just thank you and Alex for all the hard work. They really, when was your officially, like March 1st, you guys became chairs of this committee? Is that correct?
I think that's right.
Yeah, it was around March. And I and the other people on the FMEA board started talking about we wanted to make changes. And Alex and Ruthie and also our new ORF coordinators, Lisa and Rosemary, just embraced this and did a lot of research, looked into so much, talked to people, took the research that we had and just ran with it. And here we are with an updated rubric. And I am just so thankful for what a great job you guys have done. And this has just been a great presentation. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joni. Appreciate that. This webinar is being recorded and it will be posted on the FMEA website. If you do know any of your colleagues who may be interested in judging, the only qualification for being a judge is to watch this webinar and then communicate with either Ruthie or myself so that we can just go over the rubric in sort of just a one-on-one setting so that we can make sure that everybody's on the same page. But we're really grateful that you all have been here. And in the meantime, if you do come up with questions, as you look through the rubric as it was distributed to all the membership, and as you consider yourself as a judge, please just let us know. Our email is, I have to look it up because it's so crazy, allstatechorus@FEMEA.FLmusicEd.org. I can put that in the chat. It's also on the packet. Oh, great. Ruthie's awesome. So any questions can be directed to us, and we're happy to, we'll get back to you as soon as we can on that. But again, we're just really grateful for this community of support as we look to get back to our next normal, and welcome back our kids. Kim, do you have a question?
Just a super quick question, just to clarify. So the teachers are not reading any script. The teachers are not singing anything or playing anything. So in reality, the kids could even take the recorded script and record themselves at home. So they don't actually have to do it after school.
You know, that is not a subject that we broached.
Okay.
You bring up a really good point. Let us get back to you on that.
Okay, no worries.
I'm writing all of these questions down so we can follow up.
Go ahead, Michelle.
I was just thinking about this. I of course, like everyone else said, I love how the rubric and everything has been really streamlined. But in taking out all the little minutia that was in there, is that going to create more of a larger group of like the average kids as opposed to the ones that get all 4s and 2s? They're obviously going to stand out. And then is there going to be this big group that, you know, is mostly in the middle? And if those numbers, I don't know what the numbers are going to look like as far as how many kids are going to get like the perfect score. And then if there's this giant group in the middle, how are those kids chosen, if they're chosen to be added into the chorus? How is that going to work? Is it going to be just like a lottery, or?
That's a really excellent question. We grappled with that, especially within our the working group that convened after the 2020 FMEA conference. What we found, the evidence of experienced judges, Virginia, you were in that meeting, is that there has unfortunately been some, because of how laborious the judging has been, there have just been some blanket scoring where that, you know, a judge is hearing a kid and they're like, that's a 4 already, 4s.
Yeah.
And so by simplifying the rubric, we're hoping that we can actually get judges to commit to listen more accurately for all of these specific things, by eliminating you have to listen for everything all at the same time, by only having to focus on one element or 2 at the same time, that we can actually get a little bit more accurate judging. And it's not going to be a perfect process. You know, this is brand new, and we're hoping we're going to learn and adapt. But your point is well taken, and it was taken into consideration. But based on the feedback of judges who have judged before, who were part of that, there was some reformation that needed to happen. So the executive board thought that this was a really good way to do it.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's going to work out well.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. And I will also say, Michelle, that literally data was pulled and audio was listened to, you know, so we could start thinking about that. But as Alex said, this is a work in progress. So we'll see how it goes. And we'll obviously be open to feedback from you as a judge to help us continue to make this process better.
Yeah, Michelle, I think those melodies are going to be, that's going to weed out. That's going to separate people.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a good point.
Okay, cool.
And just one other further comment on that, just because we did a couple other conversations within the executive board about equity and access to the audition process. There are some notable changes into the number of auditions that folks can submit, because we felt that the limit of 5 was adversely impacting our itinerant teachers, many of whom serve a wide variety of schools, and by having them select only 5 of their top students, that prevents access to a really beneficial opportunity to a child who might really benefit. And so that's really been the spirit behind all of this. But that's an ongoing work, and I'm glad it's being noticed. But we recognize it's not done. So thank you for that feedback, and for all of you and your colleagues, please share it. There's no other way for us to get it. We want to make this the best experience it possibly can be.
How many students can audition? Has that changed?
Yes. I believe that there is not a limit.
As many as the teacher wants to submit.
Okay.
But only 5 from each school.
Per school. Yes, 5 per school.
Okay.
Will be selected. You can submit as many as you want. But by switching that from 5 total can be auditioned to only 5 from a school can be selected, that puts a little bit more ease of access to all of our students and our teachers.
I think Katie Grace has a question.
Go ahead.
I apologize for the background noise. I'm currently in a line for singing.
I thought you were, and I'm jealous.
Well, don't be, because it is bowels of you-know-where friends. So I wanted to just quickly mention regionals, and that I'm almost positive that the answer is going to be we're holding off on regionals, but is it still on the back burner? Is it going to be a thing? I know I'm going to have parents that ask the question, and I want to make sure I'm not just making something up.
Yeah, for this year, Katie Grace, there will be no regionals, but right now the plan is to reinstate them the following year. We just don't have the budget at this point to be able to go forward. Also, had some concerns about whether colleges will even let us on campus this coming year. So we had to back off for this year, but yes, we're going to do everything we can the next year to bring them back, because we felt they were really successful, and we want to continue that again with, being more accessible to more students, having an experience. We really do want to continue that, but not this year.
Crystal, did you have a question too?
Oh, I just typed it, but I was wondering, because I know that when you get to middle school and high school, they do limit the teachers on how many they can submit. Simply, I think, thinking about the work that's involved in having to judge that many auditions, do you anticipate that being an issue, like us having so many auditions because people submit more? Or is that a good problem to have? Or, I think
we kind of feel it's a good problem to have. We'll see, because we didn't have auditions last year. And also because a lot of schools around the state were even limited in kids singing. Some kids did not sing for an entire year. We really don't know what the field is going to be like. So we just decided to, again, give this a try. And and again, if some people on the board, we have to go and do auditions as well, listen to auditions as well. We'll do what we need to do, but we felt like we kind of rather have that problem and then see what happens from there.
And at the same time, especially considering that we are an elementary all-state chorus, harkening back to that mission that Ruthie presented at the beginning, we asked the question, what is this really about? It needs to be about a really high quality honor choir experience, but especially at this age level, we need to promote and foster continued growth and love of music and singing. So by eliminating that cap, at least at this juncture, we're hoping that we can support our school teachers across the state in helping rebuild that love after a year of really strong inconsistency.
Are there any other questions?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep asking so many, but I just have one, and this might be on topic or not. It might not be on. Have there ever been a consideration for a representative choir?
Yes, and that is being talked about right now as we speak. So the FMEA board is discussing that and what that would look like. Yes. Oh, and I guess I should also mention, you know, All Stars was kind of like that, the All Star video that we did. And though that's not necessarily, you know, an all-state representative choir, it is something that we do want to do again this coming year as well, to do All Stars. But on top of that as well, we are thinking about a nominated group. Because I will tell you, it was really awesome in the All Star. I don't know how many of you saw that video. We had places that have never participated in All-State before, but were able to because their kids didn't have to travel. So that was, you know, that was a real learning experience for us as FEMEA. So
I loved that video too, because I could show it in all my classes to the younger kids, and they had a cool thing of just trying to find our 2 students throughout the video to see if they could find them. And the younger kids, you know, just had a blast trying to do that. And it was nice and it was short. It was great.
Yes, we were really pleased with that as well. So that's why we want to continue it. And we're working on that for this coming school year as well. But it was a real kind of, we kind of had to throw it out there. We didn't really know exactly what would happen or how many people would even want to be involved. And the support from the teachers was great. And it was just a really wonderful, especially it just brought a lot of joy to a lot of lives. I know for me, it was just wonderful to see all those kids in that video.
All right. Well, we want to thank all of you again for coming today and being willing to be a part of this process with us, with all the changes and everything. And we're really looking forward to having as many of you as possible be part of our judging team.
Yes, thank you all so much. Please let us know if you have any future questions. And with that, y'all take care. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.